TG Geeks, episode 189, October 1st, 2018. What do geeks and girls and opera have to do with anything? Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it in the podosphere. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from...
Did you just say podosphere?
Yes, from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from a place where who needs to go and experience a red wedding when you could have a red party here in Phoenix, Arizona?
And we're going to give you a little...
We'll discuss that.
Yeah.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
In this episode...
At the Hall of Justice.
Yes, this episode we're going to talk to Sam Johnson. He is the creator of Geek Girl Comics, and he's got a new Kickstarter that actually starts today as of this episode. And he's over in the UK, and I probably already started by the time you get to listen to this, but go check out the Geek Girl Comics. We'll talk to him in this episode. We have our birthday shout-outs, as always, feature podcast of the week, and everybody's favorite feedback. And in the second episode, we are going to talk about Arizona Opera and the season opener, Maria de Buenos Aires. And it was, I can't.
Nope.
Not going to do the show before the show.
Nope.
So, and then we'll have a weekly recap and then our follow-up item. So we're going to get right to that interview with Sam Johnson. And this time we've got a returning guest. We have Sam Johnson, who is the creator of Geek Girl. And we're doing this episode, Geek Girl number 3 has been released. And tell us, Sam, where we left off with Geek Girl in number 1 and number 2, since that's a kind of an exciting thing. At the end of 2, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, well, I mean, what's the kind of, though issue 3 is out now, it's part of a Kickstarter. So we're kind of, that's sort of there. You can get all 4 issues of the mini. Four is going to be on there to pre-order. So it's kind of like, it's about the 4 issues now is kind of what I'm saying. So to set up where things are with that, Ruby K, hot popular college chick, landed a pair of super tech glasses, gave her flight and super strength powers. She kind of grew into being a super heroine, took on a big bad lightning storm who was trashing Maine where they lived, took out other superheroes, all the other superheroes, in fact, took out police stations. And the climactic battle between Lightning Storm and Geek Girl, aka Ruby K, Ruby wound up in a coma as a result of it. And her BFF Summer got hold of the glasses and feeling kind of guilty about pushing Ruby into being a superhero in the first place. It was kind of her idea. She's the comics fan. She came up with it all. And, look what's happened to Ruby. So she's now sort of she's got the glasses. She's made a replica costume. She's now stepping up to fill in for Ruby as the new Geek Girl while there's a big crime wave going on as a result of the damage that Lightning Storm's done. Key in this is a new bunch of super villains that are on the rise called the League of Larcenists, who've got like super tech, and they're pulling bank jobs and with teleporters and big guns, and no one can stop them.
And a bunch of weird names.
Pighead, so called because he's got his brain is kind of fused with a pig's, and he's got half a head to match that. And he likes to come up with code names for the newbies, and a guy that kind of gets on the wrong side of him, Terry, when they're deliberating on what to come up with him for a name, points out that his wife made him have a vasectomy, so from there on forth he is known as Numbnuts, which...
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's a quirky setup there, and there's some internal conflict there. The deal is Pighead wants them to be this, this big thing. He wants everyone to be all in, and Terry, one of the new recruits, is a little non-committal, which doesn't really sit that well with Pighead, who's quite aggressive. So yeah, you've got a bit of a confrontational situation there. But yeah, that's kind of the beginning of the League of Larcenists, and throughout the mini, they're looking to build and grow and become the Legion of Larcenists, and
the Legion of Larcenists.
Legion of Larcenists. They're looking to clean up basically, and the crime fighting forces of Maine are somewhat depleted. So we've got Summer as Geek Girl doing the best she can, but she's not great at it, and we've got the jock superhero Pitbull's kind of taken her under his wing, but is not entirely convinced that she's up to it.
Right.
So back to the crime war that's going on, and Summer and Pitbull.
Yeah. So what is in store for Geek Girl in number 3 and number 4? Where is, obviously the story is continuing on. You've got something planned out for 3 and 4.
Yeah, 3, as I say, which is the latest issue, which we've just finished putting together. The big thing in that is Nina Dante, who was in the first miniseries and kind of took a shine to Ruby. She's they kind of had a fight, and it's ended up on YouTube, and Nina Dante is this sort of uber alt girl with a cybernetic eye and a big online following, and her followers are kind of clamoring for a rematch. So Nina Dante, having got her ass kicked last time, wants to take on the new Geek Girl, but wants to be better equipped to do it. So that's where we enter Johnny Carlyle, a guy of somewhat dubious nature, who's something of a power broker, a guy I created quite some time ago and been looking to introduce into my comics universe. So she's got her cybernetic eye off of him in the past, but that's just for show. That doesn't do anything. So she's now paying him a visit so that she can power up with a view to kicking Geek Girl's ass and getting some good hits on our website.
Listening to, having read issue 2 and listened to some of the synopses that you've encapsulated here, I kind of wonder, when you were creating the whole Geek Girl comic, obviously there's some straight up action, straight up, superhero comic book type action that, as old people, we remember very, very well, when we were going to the local store and buying our weekly issues. But there also seems to be a hint of satire. With some of the characters, and especially some of the villains and some of their origins. So when you were creating this, were you trying to make maybe some sort of a social stab at something, or were you just trying to make something that could be both action fun but silly at the same time?
Yeah, I think that's the second. It's there is a what you could call a certain ridiculousness to the whole tights and just the expression tights and capes. So it's in no way sort of like belittling that, far from it. It just kind of embraces it, but it's kind of, there's a sort of, as I say, you get in a different point of view, because Ruby, without Summer's influence, isn't, she was a hot, popular college kind of an it girl when she starts out. This isn't a world she would be drawn to off her own bat. So you've got a different perspective there, and she's got, like, as she goes along, she's got Summer on a cell phone. This is in the first series, and like as she takes out some villains and she's trying out her superhero banter, she's checking how well that that landed with Summer. And there's a kind of, so it's not like meta, it's not that conscious, but there's a sort of a playfulness. I mean, we'll see Neon Girl, who was the bigger superheroine, is main resident superheroine, first lady, who got taken down by Lightning Storm in the first series. We've got her coming back, and there's going to be there's quite a fun dynamic that's going to develop between her and Ruby that does kind of riff on the whole sort of, superhero tropes. But again, it's all done with love. It's not to take away from that. I mean, I love comics. I love superheroes.
So it kind of reminds me a little bit of some of the direction that Stanley maybe took, like with Howard the Duck, where it was never meant to be insulting or belittling the whole superhero industry, but at the same time, kind of poke fun at some of the more, the sillier side of the whole superhero world that's out there. Yeah,
I mean, the League of Larcenists, though they are kind of formidable, there is obviously a ridiculous, I mean, if any team where one of them's going around with the name you can't take it entirely seriously. Mm-hmm. And with another one that's going to be joining the ranks as well, who gets introduced in issue 2, Chromax, is this robot that talks in a sort of pseudo street way. So things like, I'm going to bust you up, which is not the kind of things you'd normally expect to come out of a robot's mouth. So there's certainly a comedic element to it. But the other thing of it, I always, the high concept of Geek Girl is Mean Girls meets superheroes. So there is quite a very human thing going on as well, with Ruby and Summer and their girlfriends, who were alienated initially by Ruby in the first series, because when she got these glasses that gave her the powers, she wasn't used to the strength. They make her act klutzy. She knocked stuff over, not ruin their dresses. Anytime she tried to demonstrate her powers, she had just done it, and there I was making a fool of herself. So they kind of alienated themselves from her. Summer was the only one that stuck by her. But now Ruby has saved the freaking city, so we have a situation where these are girls, they like to be part of what's popular. So whereas before they didn't want to know, now this Geek Girl, this sounds like something I want to be a part of now. So we have them visiting her in hospital while she's in a coma, and there is a very human thing going on there, but at the same time there's humor there as well as the Mean Girls. Even at someone's bedside who's in a coma can't help but be basic bitches.
Fascinating. So you said that there's a fourth episode or
issue.
I keep saying episode. Fourth issue coming out, and you had mentioned about your Kickstarter. So tell us about that.
Yeah, well, basically, I mean, this runs through October, and it's kind of taken over the Geek Girl Comics site. So if you go to geekgirlcomics.com now, that will take you to the Kickstarter. So this is all 4 issues available. So as I say, 3 is the latest one out, so 4's on there to pre-order. If you haven't got the first series, you can get that on there as well. And then there's all kinds of limited editions. We've got a bunch of artists done variants and prints, and we've got some beautiful stuff on there. So it's like the ideal place to jump onto the Geek Girl series, whether you come in on the current series, which is kind of, like Summer's arc, or if you want to get in from the start. But either way, it works. Either works as an entry point, and it's all on there. So, yeah.
Cool. So that's geekgirl.com, is that correct?
Geek Girl Comics.
Geek Girl Comics. Cool. And then you have all of everything from all of the issues and the Kickstarter and the this and that and the other and everything else that we could want to know about Geek Girl.
Yeah, and another thing on there that's cool, that's different from, because when we did the Kickstarter for the first series, that was for the trade paperback, so everything was already done. Now in this. So yeah, in this case, we're working on issue 4 as the Kickstarter is on. So it's not all fully completed yet. So one of the top tier rewards we've got is get your kicked by Geek Girl, where you can be. This is assuming this is still available because there's only 2 of these going. It may not still be available at the time that it's going out, but get your kicked by the Geek Girl, where you can be one of the League larcenists. So you will, as I say, the League is growing in ranks throughout the series. And issue 4, there's some newbies coming in to who will be involved in the climactic battle with Geek Girl, and you can be one of these newbies. So what we're doing is the people that bid on this, not bid, but take this reward, send us some pictures for Carlos to use, and you'll get drawn in on the cover and in the fight scene. So that's quite a nice one.
Cool. So yes, with a good bid, you could actually have yourself immortalized in the pages of Geek Girl and having your butt kicked.
Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want to get their butt kicked by Geek Girl? Yeah. I can't. Anyway.
So now, I remember the last conversation we had with you. You had said something along the lines of like there was another superhero. You talked about maybe there was some universe building that was going on here. Am I imagining things, or did we actually have that conversation?
No, absolutely. I mean, as I mentioned, this character Johnny Carlisle is someone I've had, sort of in the bank for some time. So I've wanted to find the right venue, and something else that I came up with at the same time as him is I don't know if I mentioned before, Carbracini, Voodoo Junkie Hit.
That's the one.
That's it.
That's right. The one.
That's the name. The name. So yeah, she's the ex. Drug prostitute. I'm choosing my words carefully here. And she's now supernatural hit woman for hire, as it were. And so we had most of a 4-issue miniseries for her done, but what I decided to do was introduce her first. Though she's appeared in an anthology called Effects, she used to be in the Halloween issue of that annually. Rather than go straight to the miniseries, I want to bring her into the Geek Girl universe. So with where this one ends up is going to set things up for an arc that will introduce Cabra, and that's going to be an interesting dynamic. Because I haven't written this yet. Obviously, I've got loads of plot ideas, but I haven't started scripting this yet, so I don't know quite actually what the dynamic between Ruby or Summer, whichever the Geek Girl is, and Cabra will be. So it'll be kind of depend how their personalities go. But Carbracini is kind of a scenery chewing, somewhat crazy, gun-toting voodoo woman.
Yeah, that's the one I'm really crazy about, because I have this vision, and I know I said this the last time you were on the show, but I've got this vision of she comes across some bad guy, and he says, "Oh no,
who are you?"
Well, he starts to rattle off. He knows who she is. He starts rattling off her name, and because it's so bloody long that she ends up, wiping him out completely, and and then before he has even a chance to finish it, and then she gets to turn around, maybe to some bystander who's there. She gives him a wink and a nod and says, "One of the benefits of having a long name," or something stupid like that, just for a great laugh. If you come across Cabra, I wouldn't begin a sentence with "Oh no, it's Cabra,"
because you're not going to get to the end of that sentence.
Yeah. It's her.
Yeah. Oh, bollocks. Something really quick. But yeah, it would be. I would get a kick out of that if at least one idiot actually did that. I mean, that would be so
That would
funny.
be funny.
Yeah, basically they would deserve to die if they
Exactly.
did that. So,
Right.
fair play.
So regarding the whole development of Geek Girl, is there an endpoint to this, or is this going to be just a bunch of little not standalone, but little mini arcs? Because obviously there's a story arc going on right now, but is there a plan? Because this sounds sort of like a hero's journey at the same time.
Yeah, I'm big on sort of character arcs. Where Ruby ends up at the end of the first miniseries, she's quite different and from the sort of vacuous origins she came from, and that's something I'm interested in. And it's the heart of the series is Ruby and Summer's relationship, and it has been. So even when we haven't got Ruby around, at least not in a way that she is functioning in the second series, that's still the kind of driving force. So I'm interested in developing these relationships, and also in spending more time. What I really like about the first issue of the current Crime War arc is that because of Ruby being out of action, we get to spend more time with the other characters and get to know them a bit better. So that's something I want to develop, like, some of the mean girls. Karen, who's the worst of the bunch, and comes across as pretty hateable in the first series. I've got plans to sort of get into why she is how she is. And with this Kickstarter, it's always been my plan to get to the point, to get the audience big enough for Geek Girl that we can make it ongoing. So depending on how well we do with this Kickstarter, the intention is there'll be a gap, and then rather than going back to another mini-series, we'll have a next arc that will start in issue 5.
Very nice. So, for all you people out there, you want to check out this Geek Girl. We've been looking at it. It is quite entertaining, and the artwork is gorgeous, but the story is a lot of fun. So, Sam, for people who want to know more about Geek Girl or know more about your Kickstarter program, how can they do that?
Well, I say the best thing is geekgirlcomics.com. Is hooked up throughout October to go directly to the Kickstarter. If you want to add me on any social media, I should be. If you've got friends that are into comics, we've probably got mutual friends on Facebook. So search Sam Johnson. I should come up quite easily. Twitter is at DA Sam Johnson, Sam Johnson. And yeah, there's all going to be, alongside throughout this Kickstarter, there's going to be, extra stuff related to it posted, and we're going to be updating and bringing in new stuff throughout the campaign. So this is in this Kickstarter, we're really trying to take things to the next level. So this is the best time to get on board, really, because as I say, it's if you want to get in from the start, if you weren't there for the first mini-series, that's there, but you can jump in no problem with the second. And so it's as I say, we're trying to really take things up to the next level now, to the point where hopefully by the end of this Kickstarter, we've got the audience big enough that we can justify making it ongoing.
Cool.
Outstanding.
Well, thank you for being on the show to talk
Yes.
about Geek Girl, Mr. Sam Johnson.
Thank you for having me.
Hello, this is Zachary Wheeler, science fiction novelist, and you are listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
And here's a few selected birthdays for October 1st through October 7th, 2018. October 1st, Brie Larson.
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel and Julie Andrews. What more can you say? I mean, if you don't know who Julie Andrews is, leave the show.
No kidding. You can't listen anymore. We forbid you.
And Richard Harris. Also, we have several people that are friends of ours. Andrea Richoff, she's not only a friend, but she is actually a contributor for tggeeks.com. A friend of ours, Jeff George, so you've known him longer than I have, but I've known him for 20 years or more.
Yeah, 30 years, I think.
Yeah. And Monica Demis, who is a film director from Brazil, and she was what was it?
Lilith's Awakening?
Lilith's Awakening, yes. Gosh, how could I forget that?
Yeah, amazing movie.
Yeah, amazing film. And also, my brother-in-law and your brother-in-law, Mr. John Hill.
John Noble? Oh, I'm sorry.
John Hill.
Oh, John
Hill.
Not that John Noble.
What the hell is going on here?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to say John Noble for the fun of it.
Yeah. October 2nd, Mahatma Gandhi, Groucho Marx, and Ray Shalachi, who is with the movie guys. October 3rd, Denis Villeneuve and Lindsey Buckingham.
Ex-Fleetwood Mac.
Yes, ex for how many times now?
This is the second time, I think.
October 4th, Anne Rice, who did the Sparkly Vampires.
No, she
didn't do the Sparkly Vampires. She did the...
Lestat, Interview with the Vampire.
Those vampires, the good vampires.
The good vampires, yeah.
And Melissa Benoist and Lillian Gish. She was the first lady of American cinema. She died just shy of her 100th birthday.
Whoa.
She started in the 20s and the 30s. And I remember, I've talked about this before. I remember, I think it was the 73 or 74 Academy Awards where she got a lifetime achievement or an honorary Academy Award, and they drove up to her house in a Rolls Royce and this big beautiful mansion, and she came out and accepted the award.
Oh, how wonderful.
It was really great.
When was that?
Oh, it's 73 or 74, 73? Yeah.
Oh.
It was really great. And also on October 4th, imagine that, Sam Johnson.
What a coincidence.
Who we just talked to. His birthday. Happy birthday, Sam. October 5th, Donald Pleasance, Guy Pearce, Karen Allen, Jeff Conaway, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Who we will be seeing in a couple of weeks here in Phoenix.
Yeah, Clive Barker, and Robert H. Goddard, who was kind of the founder of rocket science, if you were. So rocket surgery.
Rocket surgery.
Rocket science.
Yeah, brain science.
Brain science. Rocket science. Dang it. October 6th, Johan Grufford, Carol Lombard, and Mr. Joseph Spector, who is the president and general director of Arizona Opera. Happy birthday, Joe.
I'm surprised Joan Grufford wasn't spelled with a Q or an X.
Yeah, exactly. But October 6th actually is a performance of Maria de Buenos Aires in Tucson.
That's right.
On Saturday night, yeah. And Joshua Jeremiah, who played the poet in When Adonis Calls, which I saw the... dress rehearsal for in Asheville, North Carolina.
And to create the connection even further, libretto written by John De Los Santos, who did the stage direction and choreography for
Maria de Buenos Aires. And also the music was by Clint Borzoni, who we saw.
I got to see last night.
Yeah, it was really cool. October 7th, Desmond Tutu, Niels Bohr, Yo-Yo Ma, and Jonathan LaPoma, who's a screenwriter, author, friend of ours on Facebook and in the Morning After realm, shall we say. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama. Rama. And now it's time for... I love this music.
I hadn't guessed.
It's our listener feedback.
Yeah. This one's funny.
Ha.
This one is funny. We just have one piece of feedback for today, but this one really made me giggle. A few weeks ago, ran a review for the book Eschaton, or Eschaton. I don't even know how that would be pronounced.
I think it's Eschaton.
Eschaton, that's my thought. It is the third book.
Eschaton. Oops.
It should be called that. It is the third book in this series of the Infinity Engines. And we got a we got a reply or feedback from some guy named Keith Lane.
Who in the heck is that?
I don't know, but would you mind reading it?
What, me?
Yeah. Since you share a name.
Yeah. I have to say that I would rather have seen a fourth book with the fleshing out of the story or a longer book than to rush through the story and then stop writing, because that's in essence what happened. It is almost as if the writer said, and they lived happily ever after, again and again and again and again
And again.
And you get
the point.
You get the point.
Yes, that was from my husband. He wrote that, and my God, you were so right.
Oh my gosh, that book, whole
bums me out.
I mean, it was the third in the series. The first two books were really, really great, and the first part of the third book was great. But
yeah, and
it's almost as if he kind of wrote himself into a corner and didn't know how to get out, so he stopped writing.
He started writing rubbish.
And it's sad. It's sad because he's a really good writer, and I don't wish to hurt his feelings or anything, but you may want to rethink that and re-edit that and
definitely.
and re-release it. Finish it up properly. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the one feedback that we have for this week.
And we want to hear from you, our listeners, whoever you are, even us, if we have a comment on anything. You're important to us. We want to hear what you have to say, good or bad. We want to hear it on our episodes, on anything that we post, whether it's the articles or, anything. Just do it. Mm-hmm. You can do that on Facebook. You can do it on the website, on the articles, or the show notes. You can do it on Twitter, Instagram, the Facebook.
Gosh. I think that pretty much covers all the ground that I can think of.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
We don't have the Pinterest yet.
Not yet.
And our MySpace accounts have deactivated.
Well,
so.
mine's still there, I think, but we're not. It's not tied into this.
But you can give us feedback on anything, and we'll give you a shout out on the episode. And if you want to, we have a listener feedback line. You can call us and leave a voicemail message, and we'll play that comment on air. Call 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice.
This is Mark Biaggi, and you're listening to TG Geeks Webcast. Get your geek on.
Waiting for you to turn that volume up.
waiting.
Yep. So yes, wow. Okay, so as of when we are recording this episode,
we have officially seen Maria de Buenos Aires three times.
Once at the Black Box, which is the offices of Arizona Opera for
their rehearsal space, yeah.
And then we got to see the opening night performance
with the Red Party.
And then we got to see it again Saturday night.
And just to mention this is actually Maria de Buenos Aires and the next opera, Charlie Parker's Yardbird, are part of the new McDougal Arizona Opera Red series. And these operas in the Red Series are being performed at the Herberger Theater. It allows Arizona Opera to do something in a smaller venue.
More intimate work.
More intimate works that are being produced today and some current work.
There are a lot of operas, not just newer works, but even older work, much older works that were not written for big venues. So to try and put them on in a major hall like Symphony Hall, it actually ends up sucking the energy out of the piece.
Yeah, so this is, what Symphony Hall is that, 3,000, 2,000 people?
Between
something
2,000
like
3,000.
And Herberger is 850, I think, is the max in that theater. And it was packed both nights, Friday and Saturday night. I think
Excellent energy
this
from the
afternoon
audience.
on Sunday is packed too. In fact, I looked to see if there might be some tickets available for Sunday afternoon. There were nothing on the floor. Nothing, no orchestra
or loge.
The loge, there were 2 handicap seats, and in the balcony there were like half a dozen seats of the $140 tickets. So,
well, that's good.
Well, I don't think we're going to be seeing that on Sunday.
No, well, but that's good. It's nice to see that they're actually able to get these. Get that house sold out, and wow, what can we say about this piece?
My gosh, Maria de Buenos Aires by Astor Piazzolla and Horacio Ferrer.
There we go.
Did the libretto, or did the poetry that was set to music.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a libretto.
Yeah,
not technically.
It's not technically quote unquote opera. But it is in that realm. So it's more of a theater piece with music and poetry. But nevertheless, Arizona Opera did it, and
they did a very good job.
Oh my God, production was riveting. It was stunning.
What were some of the things that really stood out for you on that?
The set pieces were fabulous, and they perfectly conveyed that streets of Buenos Aires, the not so well traveled streets, let's put it that way, the back streets, and where Maria lives and works, if you will. And the set pieces were great. The other things that stood out to me was the orchestra.
Oh, the music was
my
lovely.
God, the music was incredible. The playing, Hector Curato?
Hector de Curato, I think.
Yeah, he was the bandoneon player, and a bandoneon is a cross between an accordion and a concertina.
Yeah, I think it felt sort of like a precursor to an accordion to me.
Yeah, it's really an unusual instrument. It's wonderfully, sounds wonderful.
And he played it masterfully last night.
So it was a bandoneon, a guitar, piano,
oh my God,
flute.
The guitarist.
Yeah.
I had a chance to meet with him after the performance last night, and I was just dazzled by how great he played. Because this is a guy who really crosses genres in being Latin, well, not just Latin music, but tango music definitely has its own particular style. It's unlike anything else. It's not like classical. It's not like Renaissance, Baroque, whatever. It is something totally unique to itself. And what he was able to do was just mind-blowing. My only regret is that I couldn't actually watch him play.
Right.
I would have loved to have been able to see him play, and I told him that last night, and he smiled and laughed at that. But, I mean, that young man is, well, not young. I mean, he's in his, at least he's in his late 20s, if not early 30s, and he's been playing since he was 7.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an amazing, but everybody, and these guys, they supplemented musicians that were handpicked out of the regular pit orchestra for the symphony. Not symphony, but for the opera.
Yeah. So it was really great. The music was wonderful. Saturday night, the performance we saw Saturday night was really great because we were kind of in the center of the back row, and it was the perfect sound.
The sound was great, and the view. I mean, there's no bad view.
Yeah, not in that theater.
Not in that theater. No no bad viewing.
You're maybe, if you are, 200 feet from the stage
at most.
Any place in that theater. But that was great. The singers were incredible. There's one performer that's not a singer. It's a kind of a narrator. It's the goblin. It's the El Duende, which is a shapeshifter, was played by Celeste Lanusa. And she was
stole it.
Oh,
well,
my Lord!
How do you steal the show when it's all about you in a sense?
I mean, that in essence, it's called Maria de Buenos Aires, but it's really about that Duende versus Maria and what happens there. So we don't want to give it away, but
no, but her performance. I mean, the ovation she got was just insane.
Yeah, it's normally played by a man. I mean, it's traditionally been played by a man, but she did this, and John De Los Santos, who is the director, who did a fabulous director and choreographer, did a fabulous job, and did kind of an alternate translation of the poetry and an alternate look at the show itself, where Duende was played by a woman and featured as a woman in parts of the show. So it was kind of a good versus evil type of thing,
right?
Which the whole show is about. And Maria,
can't think of her name.
Oh, dang it!
Yeah, I can't think of her name.
Anyway,
it went out of my head.
Her performance was really incredible as well. Oh shoot!
Yeah, I'm looking her up right now.
I'm going to be mad.
Maria
Catalina Cuervo. Oh my gosh! How could we forget that? She was incredible. She sang a lot in her chest voice, which was very earthy and
earthy, sultry.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's the essence of that Buenos Aires vibe.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that.
And then Luis Orozco, who played the Payador.
I loved him.
I likened him in our review that we did. I likened him to Maria's champion.
Yeah,
because in essence he was. So.
Yeah, he was her champion. I loved him. Gorgeous as anything. Yeah, beautiful man. And
then the rest of the cast.
Cast is fantastic. And then you had the twins.
Oh yes, the two dancers. There's two dancers in here that are two tango dancers that feature prominently throughout the whole thing. They do different things, but they're the two minions, shall we say, of Duende, and they're twins. They're Cuban twins. And they're just incredible dancers, not to mention nice to look at. But they did a really great job, and they danced with virtually everybody.
It's Lawrence and Lester Gonzalez.
Yeah. So they were really good.
They were amazing. There's nothing bad that I can say about this.
No.
This production. It was so gorgeous. And Keith and I each wrote reviews. You can find it in a single article, and we'll have the link for that in the show notes for this episode. But what was so wonderful is that, as far as they were concerned, neither one of them overshadowed the other. They were so perfectly suited for each other, and we found out later that John De Los Santos deliberately wanted them to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And what was so interesting about this is not one of these things where you need to really have to follow the surtitles, the translations of what's being sung or spoken, because it's all poetry.
Yeah, and
so it's very metaphorical.
And the key is, if you have not seen it and you're in Tucson and you're listening to this, please either go to the website and Arizona Opera's website, azopera.org, and look at the synopsis, or get to the theater early enough that you can read the program and read the synopsis.
Well, I think they also have a lecture.
It's a series of vignettes. And John has put that synopsis of the vignettes together. It makes a lot more sense.
And then you can
see it.
Then you can just sit back
and enjoy.
Just enjoy what you're seeing and hearing, because that's really this is a performance piece.
Yeah, it is.
It's performance art at its finest.
And the music and the performance, and and the set and the people playing in the parts, all of them combined, there was not 1 week.
No.
Not 1 weak link in the whole.
Not one.
I thought all of it was incredible. The music, Piazzolla combined so many different styles of music. Tango feature or tango
it's the
themes.
It's the preeminent form or primary form of music that you hear throughout the entire work. But he borrows a little bit here and there from other sources.
Yeah, a little bit of jazz and a little bit of classical, but there's a fugue in there.
Yeah,
there's,
which is very unusual for tango music.
Yeah, and then there's some pop music of the time. It was written in 1968, so there's pop music of the time that kind of features in there, or pop music-esque sound. And so I thought it was a fabulous production.
It was, and for anybody thinks that this is a really dark, morose piece, and it's largely dark in tone, but there is one moment in the last third of this work that had the audience snickering.
Yeah.
Deliberately.
Yes. Ferrer obviously had...
he had issues.
He had issues. So, yeah, it features prominently. And there is one piece that the Payador sings. Just...
heart-wrenching.
It brings tears to my eyes. All 3 times.
Yeah, the whole thing is just lovely.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic piece of work.
And we must mention that it is sung in Spanish as well.
Yes.
So
apparently, in the past, it has been done in Italian, but they've chosen to actually do this in Spanish, and it's the proper Buenos Aires because there is some slang that is used in this because our Maria, she's Colombian and was not familiar with some of the Buenos Aires slang that is used as part of the text.
Yeah.
So they really wanted to go for pure authenticity in this presentation.
One of the few Spanish operas. So it's great that Arizona Opera is bringing, I said in my review that Joe and Arizona Opera have brought the community to opera and opera to the community. So it's great because obviously we live in Arizona and there's lots of Spanish-speaking people.
Yes, there is. But let's talk about what the rest of the season for Arizona Opera is looking like.
Obviously, October 6th and 7th in Tucson is a production of Maria de Buenos Aires. I think they're probably close to sold out as well.
Probably.
In November 9th, 10th, and 11th in Phoenix is Charlie Parker's Yardbird, which is a jazz opera, and that's in Tucson, November 17th and 18th. And then we begin with the spring, shall we say, season, or the late winter, early spring season in January, 25th, 26th, and 27th, La Traviata, and in Tucson, February 2nd and 3rd. And then as part of the Scott Stallard, Marlou Allen modern masterwork series, that's going to be Silent Night in Phoenix, March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and Tucson, March 9th and 10th. And this Silent Night is about the truce on Christmas Eve during World War I.
Expect there to be tears.
Yes. And then the season closes with
comedy.
As Joe puts it, Mozart's perfect opera, The Marriage of Figaro, which is a lovely piece anyway. And
so,
I can't wait to see Arizona Opera put this one on. Traviata and Figaro,
So last year they closed with Barbara Seville. This year they're closing with Marriage of Figaro. Please don't tell me next year they're going to close with The Ghost of Versailles.
Anyway.
I hope not.
Yeah. So Marriage of Figaro is in Phoenix, April 5th, 6th, and 7th, and in Tucson, April 13th and 14th. And that is the season for Arizona Opera. Tickets are still available. I'm sure there's still tickets available for Charlie Parker's Yardbird, certainly for Traviata, Silent Night, and Marriage of Figaro, because it's a much larger house at Symphony Hall.
And I would go so far as to say that if you are in the Phoenix or the Tucson area at the time these operas are being performed, check these out. Arizona Opera, it's becoming quite clear that everybody in the opera world is now looking to Arizona because of the things that they are doing. They're taking risks. They're taking chances. Their profile is going up.
Yep.
This is a company to be reckoned with now.
Yep.
So if you're in either Tucson or Phoenix, around the time these operas are being performed, and if you're curious, check them out. I guarantee you will not be sorry.
Yep. And that is Arizona Opera.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counselors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
And that's our cue for our weekly review.
Yeah, and we've got some good stuff that came out this last week.
Stuff on the website. Yes.
Yes.
tggeeks.com.
Yes, we will have the links for each of these articles in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com. But, like I said, each of these did figure on our website throughout the week. So, on Sunday, September 23rd, we ran issue number 15 of Dr. Zombie, Monster Family Physician from Tommy Cannon.
Yay!
On the 24th, on Monday, was episode 188 of the TG Geeks. On Tuesday, September 25th, we ran a press release for the Star Trek Stellar Cartography updated for the TV series Discovery by Larry Nemeczek. Also, on Tuesday the 25th, there was a review for the re-released episode of Doctor Who's Shada, as well as Ro. She comes forward with a home entertainment review of Solo, a Star Wars Story. On Wednesday the 26th, Jeannie Koch came back with another one of her old classics newly reviewed, this time North by Northwest from 1959.
Classic Hitchcock film.
Yes. And I'll give a spoiler. She loved it. On Thursday, the 27th, we had a press release and interview with Corey Siegel-Oliver for Leap, a superhero suicide prevention comic. I really recommend checking that out, people.
Yeah.
Take a good look at that. Also, there was a review from Andrea Richoff for Night School. On Friday, September 28th, issue number 30 of New Sushi, Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond from Hamish Downey.
Yeah.
And then on the 29th, we had this joint review that Keith and I did for Maria de Buenos Aires, a sultry, sensual, and surreal spectacle. Like I said, all of those will be in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com.
And you can comment on those, on everything.
All of it.
All of it.
Not just that stuff, but hey, if you're deciding to kind of go down the rabbit hole and look at some old stuff, hey, comment on that too.
Knock yourself out.
Yeah.
As always, we have some follow-up items. Check out the widgets on the right-hand side of the page, and at the bottom of each article, we have Amazon search ads as a general rule. And on the right-hand side, featuring Beth Cato's Roar of Sky, which comes out October 23rd, I believe. That fabulous book. I did a review for it. It is incredible, and you can pre-order The Hanged Man from Katie Edwards, the second book in the tarot series.
The tarot sequence.
Yeah.
And he's been posting little tiny snippets here and there on Twitter from the next book. And oh my gosh. God, I can't wait.
Pick up The Last Son as well and read that.
Oh.
That's a great book.
Fabulous.
It's a great book.
One of the best I've ever read.
And as you probably couldn't
guessed.
tell, we are huge supporters of Arizona Opera and hope that you will be too. Check them out, azopera.org. Check out our restaurant reviews. We got a new category. Every once in a while, we're running some reviews. We kind of fell into that as a kind of interesting little how that happened. But we're doing restaurant reviews occasionally. And we are huge supporters of independent creators.
As
others.
evidenced by our interview with Sam.
Yes, filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. Please support independent creators by sharing their stuff, talking about them, sharing their information with other people, buying their stuff, leaving reviews, etc. Please support independent creators.
Special shout out to Doctor Who Talking Who on Twitter, Michael C. Burgess on Twitter, The Human Arkle on Twitter. They all have paper.lees, which republish much of our content on a regular basis. You can find Doctor Who Talking Who's. Theirs is called the Doctor Who Fancast Guide, and on Twitter you can find them by searching @TalkingWho. Michael C. Burgess's is the Byronics Semi-Diurnal Aggregator. You can find him on Twitter by searching @Byronic. That is BYRONIK. And the Human Arkles is the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News. Find him on Twitter by searching @Arkle, ARKLE, who also has a YouTube channel. It is the Shameless Cash Grab. You can find him by searching Arkle Studios, all one word, at YouTube. Special shout out to also the Facebook group The Gay Geek for allowing us to post our episodes and a lot of other content there. Their URL is facebook.com/group/The Gay Geek. And as always, a special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves, for allowing us to share our content there.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And we want to thank everybody that has clicked on our Amazon ads, and it helps. Thank you. And lastly, we are now on Spotify, and check us out on Krypton Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesday. And if you will please rate us on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Up next time, we have got 2 interviews.
Oh, that's right.
In episode 190 that's going to come out next week. We've got Susan Surftone.
Oh, that was good.
That was a great interview.
Great interview.
And we talked to Joseph Gaxiola, who is the chairman of the board of the Joshua Tree Feeding Program.
That was also
here in
a great conversation.
So that's up next time. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links to stuff that we talked about on the page in the show notes. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Peace.
Cheers.